God, the day that I am actually prepared is the day that we should both
This
go play
is
the lottery.
truly, I think this is the most prepared I've ever been in 3 years of doing this. Like, I'm not quite sure who I am right now. Welcome to the Incoherent Fangirl.
Where we are so excited to have a new author and a repeat offender in one guest tonight. Math.
You'll
Look
understand
at me go.
soon. I am Karen from Kerrigan's Christmas Land.
I'm Mandy from Hollywood.
Okay,
Yep.
let's be sad.
I gotta put a blanket on for this. I need to get cozy.
In our timeline, it is September 19th, and in y'all's timeline, it is September 27th. It's almost Halloween.
Oh, it's already Halloween here.
I mean, like, yeah.
I
Like,
decorated weeks ago.
I'm like so in the mood for spooky season this year, which is weird because usually I'm not like a spooky season girly. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a fall girly, but not like a spooky season girly. But I'm feeling it this year. I don't know what it is, but
It's always spooky season at my
it's
house.
it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I like it. I
Alrighty.
don't like your announcement that you just gave, but
Sorry. Such is life. There needs to be a balance, right?
fair.
Okay. This week in fangirling, what'd you do?
Okay, so I listened to while Josh watched The Crow, the new the 2024 Crow, which is apparently controversial. Apparently, half of the world is so irate that this movie could possibly exist.
I
I
didn't even
guess.
know there was another one happening,
Oh
honestly.
yeah, it was in the 90s, and then there was like the graphic novel is what started it, and then there was I guess there's been a few, but it's such a cult classic that like remakes people are like,
Okay. Yeah.
I guess it would feel like if someone tried to remake Gilmore Girls,
Mm,
where it's like,
yeah.
don't love that. It was so gory. I cannot believe that I stayed, but I'll tell you why I stayed at the end. If you have ever listened to me talk, you probably already know. Okay, so we begin with Eric and Shelley meeting in this kind of an asylum, kind of a therapy, kind of a prison situation. So they're all wearing like matching sweatsuits and they're like handling trauma in super unconventional like group settings. But then they have like rooms that they go to and that it seemed like they could come and go freely from. So it wasn't like you're in a cell, but you can't leave the premises. Like there's still a barbed wire fence
Okay.
around the place, like a giant double human sized with barbed wire on the top fence. So Eric and Shelly meet and they are soulmates instantly. Like they know it. They're like, oh, my soul has been looking for yours. So one day, this like group of, like every movie where like the feds show up or like the group shows up, the bad
Mm-hmm.
guys,
Yeah.
and they've all got briefcases and suits on. They show up and Shelly is like, they cannot see me. They cannot know that I'm here. And so Eric's like, all right. He goes to this laundry room and he's like, there's a window. We're leaving and I'm going with you because I can't be
Mm-hmm.
without you. So they flee. This is very early, very early. I mean, maybe that's a spoiler, but like this is so early in the film. They flee to her rich friend's apartment, who they explain like this friend is in a different country and he lets her stay there. So they are living there in this fancy apartment in bliss and they have like friends or they make friends and they go like they're in like it's kind of like EDM community. Like they go to raves and stuff.
Uh-huh.
They're doing all of the in love things. There's like the montage. And then the bad guys show up at the apartment and they are there to kill her. They put plastic bags over both of their heads and it's awful. And the whole time he's screaming, not her, not her, don't. And as he's like through his own bag, not her, not her. And he's watching her die.
Oh.
And it is, oh, it was awful. And just screaming for them to let her go while he dies. So she dies and he watches it happen. And then he kind of comes to in this other place. And it's like, it's kind of like I would explain it as like an abandoned train depot where there's no walls in the middle of an abandoned city.
Okay.
So just very industrial, crows everywhere, and like random plants growing up through the stuff and water. And so he meets this person who tells him the crows will guide you to set things right. And so it's very ominous. And then he wakes up in a river where his body had been dumped and he's still alive. And he has like super healing abilities where like you could shoot him in the chest and he's just going to like fall backwards and then keep going. So vengeance ensues. It is so gory. Okay. But I am always here for I will avenge you, even if I damn myself to eternal hell in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Skarsgård is a hot, sick crow. And I think Alex E. Harrow must have known that this was coming when she gave us Starling House, because when you hear he looked like a sick crow, you're like, does that mean?
Now you're
What
like,
does a
ah,
sick crow look like? And then you watch The Crow with Bill Skarsgård and you're like, that's a fucking hot, sick crow.
I got it now.
Like, holy shit. So yeah, it was very broody. It's the first time it's so strange because Bill Skarsgård like is a very serious actor. Like he's Pennywise. I've only ever seen him in these like spooky roles. I don't think I've ever seen him smile. But when he's with her, I saw him smile for the first time in this movie that I knew was supposed to be about like vengeance and blood and anger and rage. And so I was like, oh my God, he's got such a nice smile. He's smiling. And then it was like, I hate everyone but you. They hurt you. No one is safe. Everyone's dead to me. And I'm going to make sure they all die. So it was very, very much a book we would read.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It was very much a book we would read. Super gory. I looked it up. Somebody was an angel and explained when it was coming and what happened. No dogs are died, but someone does break their leg bone, and it apparently is very graphic. So if that is something that upsets you, I didn't see it because it says the person falls out of a moving car. And so I saw that happen and I covered my head
Looked away.
for 30 seconds until I could hear the next scene. And
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of made la 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 noises and kind of tried to listen out for a
Right.
change in the music, and it happened, and then we were good to go. But it was still very gory. Lots of gunshots, lots of stabbing, lots of vicious wounds healing themselves, which is really
Mm,
even Josh was like, "This is gruesome.
yeah.
This is gruesome,"
Something
but it was
is
good.
worse. Something is worse about like a wound healing itself than just
In
the wound
reverse,
itself. Yeah.
yes. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's the reverse
ugh.
that makes it.
Creepy.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so creepy. So I've continued. I can also correct and give the correct pronunciation. I've continued Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. So it's Mr. Norrell. It is very Charles Dickens and Jane Austen get together to write a fantasy novel. And a lot of that means that there's so much going over my head. Like, I love Jane Austen, but when you read her books, you're like, this is too smart for me. Like the language and stuff, it's very
Yeah.
similar to older works.
Right.
So it does begin with Mr. Norrell being discovered as a magician. He's an odd dude. He's kind of kept to himself, but then he gets notoriety for being like the only magician in England for centuries. And so now he's like, okay, but y'all know that like no one is better than me, right? Like I'm a magician. You want to invite me to your parties. You want to invite me to, a weekend at your estate. And
Right.
he enjoys like saying no thanks. He wants to be invited, but sometimes he doesn't want to come. Other times he wants to be there and like be the center of it all. So he's like, invite me to your parties. We'll pretend that I'm a recluse. So like he makes a fleet of, like I mentioned this last week, he makes a fleet of ghost ships to terrify the French. And what it does, the reason it terrifies them is because it makes it look like England has drastically more boats than they do and
Mm-hmm.
much more might than they do. And so they're like, all right, hold on, we can't, like we
Right.
don't have where in the book France could have steamrolled England
Mm-hmm.
easily. But now, because of his ghost ships, they're like, oh my God, we can't fight you. He also brings a woman back from the dead,
Okay.
which is interesting. Where I am, I'm still only about halfway through, and I listen to it a lot, like driving, cleaning, doing whatever. Jonathan Strange has just shown up. And he's
Okay.
younger, he's kind of quirky, and everyone thinks, and even the reader thinks, like Norrell's gonna hate him because some of
Mm-hmm.
this attention that he's been getting is gonna go to Strange. No, he's like, come be my mentee. I'll mentor you. I'll teach you everything I know. I'll give you books. So that's been a surprising change from what
Yeah.
you think of this character.
He's
And
lonely.
he's lonely,
He's
and
lonely.
he's not understood by anyone. Everyone wants party tricks. Everyone wants him at their event to be
Yeah.
like the, show pony, but
Yeah.
no one knows what it's like to actually do the magic. And so he does have, yeah,
Yeah.
that connection with Jonathan from that. So I didn't even tell Karin this because I forgot about it. We went to a concert on
Oh yeah.
Monday. I think it was like Sunday. It was either late Saturday or Sunday. I was looking at our calendar for something and I was like, oh my God, Josh, we have concert tickets. We have Spirit Box tickets Monday. for us and for the girls. So I had to like tell the twins' dad, like, hey, I got tickets. I know you just got back, but like, bought them tickets on concert day when they were $25. So Spirit Box is like a metal band that Josh and the girls really like. I'm like, they're fine. I don't dislike them. If they're on, I'll sing. I'm not gonna like, I don't have a t-shirt that I'm not hating. I just, they're not
That's
like
jam.
them. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
be ugly. I like them, but I wouldn't have gone to their concert alone.
Right.
They opened for Corn, which we left for just because like we really didn't need to see Corn. We didn't have any real interest. But the band between them was Gojira. Gojira, I don't know if you saw it.
I saw what you posted.
Oh, no, no, no.
Okay.
So the band Gojira is the band that played in the Paris Olympics, where
Okay.
it shows the French National Opera in the windows of this chateau, looking like Marie Antoinette, like headless women singing Sarah before going into a freaking metal song with the band hanging out of windows of this chateau and with fire everywhere. It was the most metal thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's amazing.
Is that band too? So we
Okay.
stayed for them for a little bit, and then we went to Whataburger, which is my reason for going on this whole excursion. Yeah, I no one understands how much like how happy Whataburger makes me. It's the spicy ketchup, which you can get at Kroger, but it's not the same
Hmm.
as like eating it with your Whataburger. So that was my reason for going. So yeah, we went to see a metal concert and go to Whataburger on a school night in Alpharetta, which is above Atlanta.
I need you
We
to
came
tell
home.
the people what the was it both the twins or just one of the twins said?
Oh my God. Okay, so we're listening to Spirit Box, and Josh and the older twin are like the big Spirit Box people. The younger twin likes them not more than I do. She just like, she has a t shirt. She knew more of the words than I did. They have their phones up, like recording and singing along and shaking their heads. She and I are just kind of vibing. So the singer from Spirit Box says, Gojira's up next. And this baby thought that she said Hosier's up next. She was like, I nearly died for a second. It's like, child, we ain't gonna be back here in the lawn if Hosier's here. If Hosier's here, I've spent all the money I can to get us into the pit so that we can use these elbows for good and get our way up to the front to catch some of that man's sweat. Okay, like we're not all the way
Oh
back here a
my
mile from
gosh.
the stage.
The way
Like we
I
were there,
died.
we got lawn seats because I think it's just once a year. Ticketmaster does the $25 concert ticket seats, including fees. So it's $25 a seat plus tax, of course. That's when we got my Taking Back Sunday tickets, and that's when we got these tickets, and they were just lawn general admission. Like they had seats closer, but we
Yeah.
didn't really care that much. So yeah, she thought we were seeing Hosier. I was like, baby, I wish. God, I wish we were at Hosier. So Josh wasn't feeling well that day, so I drove up, and I didn't want to listen to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell on the drive up. I just needed something more engaging. So I started, did you hear about Kitty Carr by Crystal Smith Paul?
Okay.
So it's a dual timeline. So it's now, I think it's 2017-ish. I
Hmm.
think Kitty Carr Tate is a mega old Hollywood star. So she's Marilyn Monroe, Katharine Hepburn, Betty Davis caliber old Hollywood. She dies and she leaves her multi-million-dollar estate, everything she owns, to three sisters, young, already rich and famous Black women. So all of the Hollywood and pop culture circles are like a buzz. They're like,
Hmm.
why did this old Hollywood star leave these random three
Hmm.
Black women sisters all of her money? So then this dual timeline also brings us back to Hazel, who is the young Black woman in the segregated South in the 1940s. She lives in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She's raped and impregnated by the white son of her employers. Her baby girl, Mary, is born so light skinned that she could be white passing. And during her childhood, Hazel takes Mary to, I think it's Charlotte, it's a town like 2 or 3 hours away. They ride the bus every Saturday or Sunday, and encourages Mary to pretend to be white and I'm your maid. And so that her daughter can sit in the movie theater seats and enjoy a movie, or can go into the diner and get a milkshake, or can go into the store and get a fancy dress. And the only way that Hazel is allowed into some of these places is as her maid,
Hmm.
because Black women are only allowed in these any kind of public whites only space if they are in
Attending
control of
to.
a child, if they have a young child with them. And even then, like in the movie theater, she has to sit up in the balcony and watch Mary from below or from above. So you infer very quickly that Mary is Kitty Carr, that this white passing child is Kitty, and that she's a black but white passing woman who is one of old Hollywood's most beloved stars of her day. And no one has any idea that she's a black woman. She is technically, obviously, she's a fictional character, but in their world, she is the first black woman to win an Oscar, but no one knows that. So I haven't gotten to the did you hear about Kitty Carr? She wasn't white. The world finding out because, of course,
Right, right,
that's what's going to happen eventually. That's
right.
going to be a big moment. But I have gotten to one predictable, but still like big in the story reveals. And it's been really good. It's been really eye opening. Again, fiction, but I'm sure these existed too. There are underground groups of white passing women in the 50s and 60s who are working to infiltrate Hollywood and the government. And they do this by marrying white men. They pass as white women, they marry white men, and then essentially they become a bug in their husband's ear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't we hire a person of color in this film role? Or honey, it's sad to see these people not able to do this. Why don't we think about some legislation to make a change? And they have to, it's a long con because their husbands will laugh them off, but they are slowly but surely trying to lead progressive change by being black women married to white men in power. So far, it has been so good. So good. I like didn't want to come record because I have like an hour left
Yeah.
and I was listening. Actually, it's only like a half an hour because I'm listening at 2x, but I was listening while I was cooking dinner and eating. It's
I
been
have
so
like
good.
chills. Like,
It,
oh,
it's
yeah,
incredible and it's on
yeah,
Libby. So like,
yeah.
and it's a very quick, like I said, I started it Monday and I've only listened to it like if I was cooking and
Right.
we've had a busy week. So it hasn't been a lot of time, but super
Nice.
good. And then last I started The Lovers by Rebecca Fabian, which we'll talk about later.
Yay.
What did you do this week after my long-winded
I
week?
have I have a few things. So I read Virgin Sacrifice by L.M. Ramirez. You got Luz, who has a lot of secrets when she starts at Hollow Oak University, but she's determined to keep them close to her chest and get through her 4 years there, get her degree without getting into any trouble. Unfortunately for her, trouble has a way of finding her. So when a heart is nailed to her dorm room door,
Jesus.
she unfortunately attracts the attention of the infamous Blackwell family, who are kind of like the founders of this small town where this school exists, as well as the school itself. And rumors, like tiny whispers across the town, indicate that they may or may not be a family of murderers. Luz has to figure out. So Luz, like I said, has secrets from her past, and she's been trying to keep them, on the down low. But somebody somewhere seems to know these secrets and is starting to drop hints that they know her secrets. And so she has to figure out who this person is who is stalking her and trying to reveal her secrets, all while avoiding attention from the very hauntingly attractive Blackwell twins. This is the first book in the Dead Girls Club series, which is a dark wide shoes romance, and it does kind of leave off on a bit of a cliffhanger. The note in like the synopsis on Amazon says that we're promised that Luz will get her psychos in the end, so I'm very intrigued to see where it goes. I thought it was pretty good. It was well written, but it doesn't, for me, it didn't feel like a complete story really, and which makes sense because it's the first in a series.
Mhm.
But I think I'm just kind of used to like each book finishing
Still
something.
being its own
Yeah,
story, still having
yeah,
a timeline.
right. And I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's fine. I enjoyed it. I was expecting, I guess, like a little bit more of a finish or a conclusion to things that started in this book. And it very much feels like it's just the first act of a longer story. And while it is marketed as dark romance, it kind of, and it might just be for this specific book because it's the beginning of it, but it kind of feels like more like YA dark than dark romance, like dark romance light, even though, there's like serial killers and hearts being hammered to doors. It didn't quite get me there. in the way
Yeah.
that like other dark romances have kind of been like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is real dark. But I do have an arc of book 2, which is called Lady Killer. So I'm really excited to read and see like where the story goes. And I'm hoping like more things will be revealed and I'll feel a little bit better about the story. I don't actually know how many books are in this series, so I'm low-key scared there's gonna be another cliffhanger, but we'll see.
I
Then
guess
I
that's
read
what they want from you.
Yeah, I guess
We'll
so.
see.
So next up, I read Unveil by Elodie Hart. This is the third book in the Alchemy series, and this one follows Genevieve Carew, who is the COO of like the best sex club in London,
Hey.
and which is called Alchemy, and Anton Wolfe, who is the UK's most charismatic billionaire and also Alchemy's newest member. And Jen does partake in the club when she feels like she needs to, but she prefers to kind of keep her proclivities private
Mhm.
and doesn't really like to be as out there as her other
Yeah.
co-founders, which I get. Meanwhile, Anton has his eyes set on her from the moment that they meet. And he is so like, he is the kind of guy who has never been told no in his life. But at the same time, he like, while he's trying to do everything he can to not just get into Jen's pants, but like into her life, he's also super respectful of her boundaries and like won't do anything like explicitly that she won't says no to. Like she specifically says, she's like, you can't touch me like at all ever, period. And he's like, okay, that's fine, but he's still like flirting with her and kind of
We
like,
love a
yeah.
boundary
So
respecting
he,
king.
yes, he does respect all her boundaries while still doing his best to like tear down the walls that she's put up.
Yeah.
So it's refreshing to see, and the tension is like so good between these two. But it does kind of feel like nothing really happens in the story. Like it's a whole lot of nothing. Like it's just tension.
That
Like
makes me
there's
so tired.
no, I mean, until
Substance.
until like the third act where and the climax where like the third act breakup would be, that's when things start like there's actual like things really happening. There is no third act breakup. Anton does do something that like makes her really mad, and so they like separate, but she's basically just waiting for him to apologize. They don't ever actually break up.
That's
They
it.
just split apart. And so she's like waiting for him to like figure out what he did wrong because he can't like get it through his head why she's so upset. It's super, what I thought it was super cute was that he went to her three co-founders slash best friends. They've been there, the four of them had been friends since uni, and so they're like basically like her overprotective brothers, right? And so they know her better than anybody, and so he goes to them, he like sets up a meeting with them without her knowing, and like is like, I need you to explain to me what I did wrong. Like, how do I fix
Oh.
things? And I was like, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fun because it gives you like a sneak, not a sneak peek, but like a peek into after the HEA for the first two couples in the series, and then it also gives you a peek into the future, like a tease for the next three couples in the series. And I think she really manages to do that really well. Like there's all these little hints and teases for what comes next, and you still get to see the people that you already loved from the beginning. So I'm a fan.
Oh.
And the spice is off the charts, of course. Like it's in a sex, like the sex club
Yeah.
is the central place where
Yeah.
everybody like so yeah. Then I watched the Emmys. Eugene and Dan Levy were the host this year, and I want them to host all the award shows.
Everything. Yeah.
I love them so much. They're so funny. They're like just so precious. I adore them so much. The only thing that I really wrote down was Hiroyuki Sanada and Anna Sawai won for lead actor and lead actress in a drama series for Shogun, and I was bawling my eyes out. I was so
Yeah.
happy. What made it even like better for me was that Stephen Yun was the one who presented Hiroyuki Sanada with the
Oh.
award, and I was like, oh, I'm a mess. I love it so much. I did get so upset earlier this week because somebody on Threads was like, oh, well, I'm happy that they won, but like, I'm kind of annoyed that Asian actors are only winning awards when they're playing non-English parts. And I'm like, but Steven Yeun and Ali Wong literally just won last year at the Emmys,
Yeah.
and those were not Asian parts. Like somebody commented that too. And the original person was like, they won for limited series slash movie. I'm talking about lead actor and actress, and I'm just sitting. I did not respond because I knew that I would not, it would not go well. I would be very upset. But like Stephen Yeun and Ali Wong literally won for lead actor and actress, like for a
We
limited
don't
series
have
slash
to
movie.
put like a yardstick on it though.
Right,
Like,
like they won for their acting chops. In
yeah,
addition to the series winning for as a whole, like as a collective, it won for limited slash anthology season series. So it's not like they didn't win individual awards. They did. And I'm just like, were you trying to like I don't know. Like why
I
are
feel like
you
they were trying to have a gotcha moment, but all
but
it did was diminish their accomplishment by saying,
right.
"Oh, they only won because they were in a
Well, the
non-English role."
yeah, and I'm just like, and well, the original person was like, it goes to show like Hollywood only likes us when we're like foreign and not like I'm like literally what are you talking about? Like I don't
Yeah.
what?
I mean, I do feel like award shows should be more diverse
Oh, of
and
course,
and Hollywood
absolutely.
should be more diverse, and I feel like we're trying to get there
We're
and we're
trying to
not.
get there, but like
But
the
don't
way
shit
that
on their
yeah,
accomplishment.
the way that they pose this like scenario and like double down on it being like well they only won for limited series slash movie, not I'm talking about lead actor, and I'm like but they did win for lead actor. Like do you mean lead actor in a drama? Because that's a whole different story, you know.
Yeah, it's a different
That's a
category.
different category in and of itself. But like if you're just talking about acting roles, like they literally won for their
Right.
acting. So yeah, I just it was such a weird
People are
moment.
so annoying.
I know. I'm just like, God damn it. Anyways, that was my frustration. I have one more book to talk about. So I read Hers for the Weekend by Helena Greer. It's the final book in the Kerrigan's Christmas Land series. And if you remember, Kerrigan's Christmas Land is the Jewish owned Christmas tree farm
Yep.
from book one, which is Season of Love. So this book follows Tara Sloane Chadwick, who is the ex of Miriam from book one, as she heads back to Kerrigan's to attend Miriam and Noelle's wedding. And one of my favorite lines in the book was like, I didn't write it down exactly, but it was something along the lines of like, this could only be more lesbian if they were both my exes. I was like, that is so funny and I love it. And so, in a moment of panic, when oh gosh, I forgot her name, but when Miriam's cousin is talking to Tara about like her RSVP to the wedding, Tara panics and RSVPs with the +1, saying that oh, I'm gonna bring my girlfriend, and so then she was like gets off the phone and is like panicking, and she does this while she's at her like favorite coffee shop, and the cute waitress Holly, she's had a crush on for a while now, swoops in and like agrees to be her fake date to the wedding because why not? This sounds like fun, but we have to
Yeah.
make it a road trip, like because they live close enough to drive. And Holly has some ulterior motives here because one, she has also been lusting after Tara for quite some time. And two, she's trying to avoid going home for Christmas because her mom keeps trying to set her up with her ex-wife. It's a whole thing. And
Oh,
so, yeah, right? Thank you for being supportive, but like
yeah.
that's a little much.
That's a little too far.
Yeah. And so Holly isn't interested in settling down, like she's not interested in getting married again, and Tara only wants to date to get married. So they are obviously not compatible. However, they have decided to enter into a brief friends with benefits situation until the end of the wedding festivities because why not?
Nobody will catch feelings.
Nobody will catch feelings, and it's just as you expect, things go awry. And
Yeah.
it's so good. There's only one bed. It's forced proximity. It's like friends to lovers. It's found family. It's healing. There's trauma and healing. And it's probably my favorite of the three. And I am in awe of Helena just growing so much as a writer as she's good. Like, obviously,
Aw.
that's what authors do, but like,
Yeah.
it's so fun to see. And it's like, It's so bittersweet because I'm like, yay, everybody gets their happy ending. But also, I don't want to
I
leave
don't want the
Kerrigan's.
ending.
Like, I love all of these characters so much. And I just want to hang out with this family and be with them
Yeah.
forever. And it just makes me so happy to see that everybody's happy. And bonus points, all three books in the series, if you put them together, they make the bi pride flag. It
Ugh.
makes me so happy. I love it so much. And then I read The Lovers by Rebecca Fabian, which we will talk about momentarily. And then I went to Dom's book launch for Karaoke Queen,
Yes.
which was so much fun. He came to the event as his alter ego, his drag alter ego, Ube Bay, and looked absolutely phenomenal, okay?
Yes.
Oh, so beautiful. I've never looked that pretty in my life. Like,
I don't think anyone has.
no, like stunning. It was so much fun. The conversation was so much fun. And we ended the evening on a group karaoke session of Dancing Queen, of course.
Of course.
And at one point, I texted you this, but at one point, somebody was like, this book is like a love letter to drag and to the Bay Area. And Dom looks right at me. He's like, we just talked about this, and
Oh,
proceeded to like talk about me and the podcast and be like, everybody, you need to go listen, you need to go subscribe, and talking us up. And I
love
was just
him
like,
so
I'm
much.
like sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh, my face is so red. I was not made to be perceived this way. This is too much. It was very sweet. But my favorite moment of the night was when we were standing in the signing line and my daughter turns to me and she says, Mommy, why didn't Dom come? It was so, so precious.
Oh,
I love her so much.
sweet
And
baby.
I was like, honey, Ube is Dom's drag persona. And she was just like, what? Like, it was so cute. And we had a really good conversation about like drag queens and, you know, the insane people who are trying to ban drag
People
and
are
all of
so
this.
dramatic.
And it just makes me so happy to know that I'm raising like a kind and compassionate child who is like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. And that was my week.
Do you have a fictional boyfriend this week?
I do not, but I do have a fictional girlfriend and a fictional found family.
All right.
So, my fictional girlfriend is Tara Sloan Chadwick, who is the Phoenix of Charleston. She is like this takes no bullshit lawyer who is doing her best with her privilege because she was born into money. She's doing her best with her privilege in order to help people who need
You
it.
said
And
doing her breast. That's what it sounded like. This is my favorite, like,
oh, that's
Freudian slip ever.
I love that. I love that. I'm leaving that in.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's trying to basically tear down everything from the inside and trying to
Yeah.
help, you know, people who are not as advantaged as she is, especially the queer community and all of that. And she's so, poor thing, is so damaged and so traumatized. And I just want to squeeze the hell out of her and remind her like she's loved, and like she's so fiery and fierce, and she's willing to like decimate the earth for the people that she loves. And she doesn't
Oh,
believe that anybody would do that for her, even though it's so clear that they would. Which is why the Kerrigan's family is my found family, my fictional found family for the week, because they're just
I love
everything.
it. So
They're
wholesome.
everything. Everything. Love it so much. I love this series so much. Do you have a fictional boyfriend this week?
I have two.
Okay.
I would be remiss if I did not select Eric from The Crow because you just have to look. You just have to look. You just gotta look. I mean, especially after at one point he ends up back in the other place. And I don't want to give too many spoilers, but he starts like bleeding like black out of his eyes and it like leaves all of these markings on his face. And he goes back and he just looks like death. And as he looks like he would have shadow magic. And as we've
Ah,
established,
and we now see all
mhm,
the threads have connected.
yes, 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 yes. And he's a Skarsgård. I mean, I never found
That's
anything wrong
fair.
with a Skarsgård yet.
That's fair.
And then I have to say, obviously, Blackwell from Phantasma.
Yes.
White-haired July Ben Barnes. That man
Right?
is
Right?
Ben Barnes.
Like, I'm not wrong. I'm not
No, you're
wrong.
not.
It
You're
was the
not.
most accurate
The
description.
swagger of Ben Barnes.
Right. God.
I just I I posted a thread it's about how I love that I live in a time with Kindles and Ben Barnes and DoorDash or something like
Hmm.
that. And so like I started seeing Ben Barnes threads, which I love. And somebody was like, my toxic trait is thinking I could pull Ben Barnes. And somebody else replied and they were like, I've met him. He is so nice. You could.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, what did you
What?
say?
What?
What you said.
Ben Barnes, I'm still single.
My favorite thing from Y'all Fest last year was when someone like they brought him up to Lee Bardugo and she was just like, he smells incredible, y'all. It's like before anybody asks, Ben Barnes smells incredible.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
I died.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
So yeah, Eric the Crow and Blackwell Ben Barnes.
I love it. Excellent choices.
Thank you.
That sound means we have an intruder
Oh my
alert.
gosh, it's a repeat offender new author.
That's very
Yeah.
confusing when you say it. But,
Yeah.
friends, we have Rebecca Fabian, who is the author of The Lovers. It's so pretty.
Yay!
For those
Yeah.
of you who are on our Patreon and can see the video, she may look a little familiar because we did have her on previously under her pen name. Now, I can't remember. Are you Faith or Victoria?
Fair, totally fair. I was Faith McLaren of the two of us. Yes.
I never remember. I'm like, one of them, somebody.
Yeah.
The unit, you know, it was
Yeah.
just like
So we're so excited to have you back, especially with this book. I'm so excited to talk about it. Can you give
thank you
our
guys for
listeners?
having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Can you give our listeners the quick elevator pitch if they haven't heard about the book yet?
Yes. Okay. So The Lovers is my solo debut under my real name, Rebecca Fabian. And it is a sapphic romance about two bisexual women who fall in love when they reconnect at a wedding that they are both working after having a falling out 10 years before because they had a psychic give them a tarot reading that said they were fated to fall in love and that freaked them out. And so here they are at this wedding again, and all of those feelings come back.
I love it. I love it so
Look, I
much.
have to just start with I love books that like take place in the wedding industry or like behind the scenes of weddings because I was a wedding videographer for years.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
Yeah. So did you have to like do research into like what it's like to be a wedding vendor, or did you just kind of like, this is probably what it's like? Because you did a good job.
I did a little research. I mean, especially like research about the wedding industry in Joshua Tree slash Palm Springs, because
Mhm.
it's a big wedding location and it's also like a bachelorette location. I went to Palm Springs, Joshua Tree area before I wrote the book. And there was this like massive bachelorette party that showed up at one of the restaurants. And it was so wild. Like it was like 40 women
Oh my
and they
God.
were all decked out. And so like I got a lot of inspiration just from like being there. But then I did look up stuff about, you know, about like vendors and how like what typically does a, you know, a wedding planner handle versus what is like handled on site by like
Yeah.
whatever location they're
Mhm.
using. It's you know, it's I hope it sounds if you say
You
did a
did
good
great.
job,
Yeah.
I'm glad because
Yeah.
I'm like hopefully it worked. I you know
Yeah.
I watched The
Speaking,
Wedding Planner, the film,
that's
Yep.
fair.
That's a
which
good
That's
uh,
classic.
fair.
drew
Yeah.
a lot from that.
Well, speaking of inspiration, like what was kind of the spark that started this story and started you writing this story the way you did?
The spark, the initial idea actually happened years ago. I had a different romance novel that I was trying to sell to Berkeley and it got really far. You know, spoiler, that happens sometimes. And I ended up on a phone call with the editor that I am now working with, Christine Schwartz. And on that call, I was like you know, they had the question of like, what would you write next? Or what would you like to write? And I just like threw this pitch out there out of thin air. My agent was like, what? And it was because I was like, I would love to write a bisexual romance about, because I'm bisexual. I was baby bi at that moment. And I said about a girl who like grew up watching rom-coms with her dad and like sort of has this idea of what like romance looks like in the movies, very heteronormative, stuff. And then realizes that she's bi and like falls in love with a woman and what that looks like. And of course, there's a lot of stuff that came after that, but that was like the initial idea. And it was just and it really obviously didn't change. That part of it really didn't change that much. And then the tarot element came in later when I got into tarot, and I was like, that would be a fun job for her to have. And what
Yeah.
could they, and you're putting the pieces together of like, who are these two people and what is going to bring them back together? Because I knew I wanted it to be a second chance romance, falling out type of a situation. So that sort of could both be working this wedding if they were doing this
Yeah.
job. And so it was just but the initial idea was very much like, that happened in that call, and then I never forgot about it. And even though I wrote a different book after that didn't sell, also I never forgot about it. And so then when it was finally like, okay, I'm gonna write this book, it was still there
It
and
was
still good.
it's the one that spoke to
Yeah.
you. It's the one
Yeah,
that you needed to write.
yeah, I mean, it was very much an I need to write this book. So like the universe was like, and then it sold,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
see?
The universe was working its magic.
there's new.
So everything I know about like mystic influencing, I learned from Vanderpump Rules. Um, but this book is teaching me so much about this world. Obviously, I know a little about tarot,
Mhm.
but did you intend for it to just be a rom-com, or like for it to be like kind of a crash course intro to Reiki and crystals and the mystical world?
Yeah. I mean, I think so when I think about like what is an escape, which is what I feel like rom-coms really are, and like romance really is like such a beautiful place to go to get away from everything that's happening in the world for just a minute, and it's very safe. I think what is going to be the most entertaining thing that I can give you guys. And for this story, I wanted it to feel like a romp. So I wanted a lot of like silliness and all of those elements in there. But because I'm dealing with a world that people really love, like though like I think there's a lot of people who might think it's like not serious, like it's very serious, like
Yeah.
it's meaningful in these. And because I personally went through a lot of deconstruction from traditional religion, and then learned about non-traditional practices and spirituality, I really like value those things. And I had experiences with sound baths, and I go to hypnotherapy on a regular, like pretty semi-regular basis. So I did kind of want to show that world in like a light-hearted way where it's not like too much if you're like, that's not something I'm into, but enough to where it's like, this is a world that exists. These are things that are out there that, one, they're tools that you can use to help you feel connected to something bigger than yourself. But also, I love it and I think it's fun and I wanted to share it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it because it's like I mean, obviously because it's something that's such a big part of your life, like you're very respectful of it and you're able to show like you don't necessarily like it's not cut and dry. You don't necessarily have to take everything that is being thrown at
mhm.
you in that situation. And I think you do really well with Kit and her readings and showing that to the wider audience. Like, okay, these are all interpretations and
Mhm.
you take what you need.
One of the things I love about like occult practices like tarot and other things that are in that witchy realm is how there's no like right or wrong way to do it, which is something that's so different from traditional religion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really love that about it. I love that you can do it anyway, how you connect with whatever practice you end up taking up, or if you do, that you get to be in charge of it, like, which is just such a freeing thing, which I think goes so well with the story about like authenticity and like living truthfully and all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Absolutely. So, as we mentioned earlier, you have previously published under a pen name and with a co-author. And just last week, we were saying to someone, like, you kind of only get one debut moment, but here
Mhm.
you are actually getting a second debut. So, what is it? What does this feel like? Is it different from the first time? And how is everything kind of coming at you? I know that I've been emotional for you, so.
Thank you. I know. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you've been there with me in the DMs of like feeling the feels. So it's funny because Horror Hotel, which was the first book that I published under that pen name, which came out during the pandemic, like kind of late in the pandemic, we were still not really doing in-person events at that time. So it's different from that perspective that like that wasn't even in the cards. There was not going to be an in-person event. And
Right.
so it was a little like strange today, like kind of be putting a book out during the pandemic. And so for this, I think too, just having my real name on it is like, oh wow, that just hits differently, which has been surprising how different it hits because one, you're dealing like I have like it's like my name and it's like people have an association with me as a person. There is a lot of like stuff with like the fact that it's a bisexual book and I came out as bisexual in a public way. And that's like I mean, for me, it's been a real journey. And this is a culmination of that journey in a lot of ways. So it feels a little bit sweeter and like more vulnerable just because of that element, because it's such a personal story. And learning to separate myself from the book has been a real journey since the book's been out on NetGalley and stuff. Like that's wild. We're with like Horror Hotel and Curse Cruise and Ellie is Cool Now, I felt a little bit detached just because I had that veneer of the fake name, right?
Uh-huh.
And even though I feel like definitely Horror Hotel had some personal stuff in it as well. I mean, there's a bisexual character in Horror Hotel. And so that was like my first time writing something with that. But so it feels different for very specific reasons, I think.
I just like I go back and forth on if I want to write under a pen name or not, but I'm with you. Like I'm proud of it. Like I want it
Yeah.
to be my name.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even the bad of like somebody's gonna associate this and if they hate it or if they hate
Yeah.
me, but like no, own it. It's your
Yeah,
name.
I mean,
Slap your name on it.
it's like people write under pen names for all kinds of reasons, right? And I think that for us, it was very much like we're writing together. This is like kind of its own thing. So it made sense, but it is really cool when like you've written something that you feel like so proud of, and then it's got your name on it. And then
You're
like
gonna
you
walk into
see,
Barnes and Noble and see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
you
your
see it. And it's
Yeah.
just like,
I did it. I did it.
So even the back of the book kind of jokes that Kit's cards betray her by
uh-huh.
not warning her about a breakup or her parents' divorce. And
Mhm.
we know that like reading tarot is always open to interpretation, but how important is intention when it comes to your tarot reading? And can you kind of give our listeners a rundown of like reading tarot, like what
Yeah.
that
I
means?
mean,
Yeah.
I think the reader, when you're a reader for somebody else, especially, you really do have to make sure your energy is clear when you go into that reading. And she talks about that in the book. She's like got the spray. She's trying because she's like all worked up about, what's going on. And, she's trying to also still be like a good tarot reader because she
Right.
takes it seriously because people can take what comes up in something like this, whether it's a tarot reading or a psychic reading or, any kind of thing, very seriously.
Just
And
the
it can
law.
really
Yeah.
affect them. Yeah. And so she takes it very seriously. I take it very seriously. I think that it's really important to, try to not bring bias that if you know the person, for instance, and you think you know what's going on in their life, like you do really kind of have to check that outside because the cards aren't there for you, they're there for them if you're giving a tarot reading. And then when you're giving yourself a reading, it's almost like the opposite. You have to like really check that you're like not just like, oh no, that's not, I'm just gonna put
Yeah.
that card back in. Like that
Put
didn't
that away. That was not for
that didn't come
me.
out. And so, because to me, tarot is it's really an intuitive tool to understand yourself better, which is the way Kit really talks about it in The Lovers, is you're seeking information from the cards. And it's not like, yeah, there may be some predictability of like what it might show you something for the future, but that's really based on your energy right now. And what it's showing you is everything that's sort of happening around you and how you can work with it. So there's no like, it's kind of the same way as astrology is not like future predictive. Like, yeah, there are things happening energetically in the atmosphere because of planets and all that stuff if you believe in astrology. But you're also like, you're active and you are making decisions every day, and your actions shape your future. So you can be shown something in the cards that you're like, that is not the direction I want to go. That is not the outcome I would like to see. And that can be the moment that shifts that outcome for you.
Oh, I love that. I just
Ooh, I
kind of
never
got
really thought
chills.
about it like that. Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so I've said this to you before, but the story feels so like it's so raw and it feels so much like you, and you can tell that like you poured your whole heart and soul into this book. And now it's out in the world for other people. How scary is that to kind of put
Very
yourself
scary.
out in front of people, and how are you managing your mental health during this time? Because
Mhm.
I would be a puddle in the corner, quite frankly.
I have been. I have been. There have been those moments.
I need advice is what I'm asking.
Yes, I have been. And you're so right. Like it is really personal. And I remember when I was writing the book and I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this because like everyone, like anybody can read this book. Anybody's going to be able to pick this book up and read it. And I can't believe because I'm a Scorpio. So I am like walled up, guarded. And there's something so about writing that takes those walls down. And so when you're telling a story and you want it to feel real and you want it to feel raw, which I did want that for this book, you do have to take those walls down and like recognize that like once it's written and it's out there and it's been edited and whatever, like you do have to put a kind of a wall back up of like,
Mhm.
okay, now this exists for like, it was funny earlier today. I was at my friend Liz Parker. I was at her house and she has a finished copy of The Lovers and it's just sitting there in her living room. And I was like, that is so weird. Seeing this book, my book just sitting in your living room, like casually, like, it hasn't been this thing that's like, my heart on a page. And it was just so surreal. But it was also really lovely to like be like, okay, it's actually just out there. It's going to be sitting in a lot of living rooms,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to know where they've put it. And I'm not going to know if they put a cup on top of it, like they could use it as, a door jam. Like, I don't know. And that is fine because now it's like having its own life, it's living a life that I don't get to see every part of. I have a child, so I kind of already know a little bit about, you have a child,
Yeah.
a little bit about that feeling of
Yeah.
like, at some point they're like out there and they're doing their thing and you're not really a part of it. So there's a little bit of just like that, constantly reminding myself the Lovers is living its own life, so they're
Oh.
That is
Kit and
not something
Julia.
I've ever thought of
I
before.
love that. Yeah, me either. I'm like it. I mean, we always talk about how like books are authors' children, but like it never actually occurred to me like you can treat them like your
Mhm.
child. Like they
Yeah.
do go out into the world and have their own life. My
Yeah.
mind is blown right now.
This is freaking me
I'm so
out.
glad. It's and it's not like you're always like just with kids, it's not like you're always like, I'm so perfect at this and I'm not
Right.
freaking out about what's happening to you, but you are able to recognize that like, in the ebb and flow of life, there's going to be good things, there's going to be bad things, and you're just sort of trying to go with it. And then I've been on deadlines, so I just haven't had time to totally obsess over what's going on with it, which is very good and healthy for me because again, Scorpio, have a tendency, I can obsess. So
Yeah,
the deadline, I recommend it, honestly. Like
that's
be
fair.
on deadline, because if you and I'm a stickler for deadlines. So if I'm somebody who's like, I'm not missing that deadline. So it's really kind of forced my brain into like boundaries around what I'm doing with all of this
I love
energy.
that. Okay, taking notes.
Yeah, for sure. You had a line that literally made me cackle out loud because it was like I was reading about myself. She said, Millie has a thing for gaunt guys. Talking about Timothy Chalamet. I was
Oh
like,
my god.
oh, I didn't know I had a type.
I'm called
Oops.
out. That's me. It's so funny because when I wrote that line, I really didn't get Timothy Chalamet. Like I was like not getting it, and
Yeah.
so I kind of, that's obviously where but it was really funny because not long after that, I watched Little Women with my son and my husband, and my
Yeah.
husband was like, "Wait a second, I kind of like him," and then
Yeah.
for real, Chalamet. Like I was like, he's like your boyfriend. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And it's really, so I've kind of come around. I'm like, he's talented. Like, I get it from that. But now I'm kind of like, oh, okay, no, I kind of can see what the vibe attraction is there.
Yeah.
And there are so many
Like, yeah.
references in this book. Like the same way that I say Deadpool and Wolverine was written for millennials, like that's kind of how I
Mhm.
feel
This was written
about
for
this
fangirls, kind of.
fangirls. And
Mhm.
yeah, like the millennial fangirl. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I see so much of myself in here. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, what is happening?
Like the perfect Nancy Myers couple is breaking up. And it's like,
It's a tragedy.
could have
Like,
called
it's
that
how could
anything, but called it a Nancy Myers couple. Ouch.
Straight
I
through the
mean,
heart.
so funny when I was thinking about like what would be, because the initial like thing with the parents was not, that was like something that came up when I was creating the story, when I was like doing the outline and stuff. And so I was like, what would be the like worst thing that could happen to this girl? And it's like, I mean, the Nancy Myers couple breaking up, like you're thinking like they're supposed to live happily ever after.
Yeah. They're
The
forever.
movie
Not
ended.
a British chippy.
Yeah, not a British Jimmy. The movie is over. they
No
they
more.
they walked off into the sunset,
You ruined our
and
HEA.
Dang
sorry,
it.
that doesn't always happen.
Oh, and it's so real. It's so real.
It's so real. Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of like returning to your roots in a way in 2026, debuting solo
Yeah.
with a YA horror novel, Lost Girls.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about that or anything else that you're currently working on?
Yeah, so Lost Girls is about, comes out from Delacorte in 2026. I am still writing it. That is the deadline that I am on. But it's almost done. I feel like if my editor listens to this, it's almost done. Um, so it's pitched as Yellow Jackets meets I Know What You Did Last Summer, about
Oh
8
shit.
girls who go on an environmental science trip to this national park, and they go missing and turn up 46 days later, but there's only 5 of them there. And when they get, so the story kind of unfolds, they're back trying to get their lives back in order after just this big media, like coming back into where everybody's been like, you were lost, and there was like a media swarm and all this stuff. And a body surfaces in the lake, and it's one of the girls that
Oh
was with
no.
them. And then and then they receive a message saying that they are going to pay for what happened while they were lost. And
Oh boy. Oh
so
boy.
it's
Look, I was a
very
no, you go ahead. I didn't mean
scary.
to
I
cut
mean,
you off.
I'm like, it's real scary. I'm so excited about it.
Oh, I
I
have
was, and
yeah.
I know what you did last summer, YA.
Yeah.
Like I was. That was recent,
Yeah.
like the past few days, my husband, I was talking about Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Felipe's kid, and
Mhm.
how like how does one look so much like their mother and their father's clone at the
Mhm.
same time? And he was like, I don't know who Ryan Felipe is. And I was like, Ryan Felipe in the shower in I Know What You Did Last Summer was not everyone's like
What are you
awake.
talking
Like,
about?
what do you mean you
Wait,
don't know who
what
Ryan
do you
Felipe
Is
mean
is?
you don't
not
know who
part
I
that
of
will
is?
your
never
sexual
forget.
awakening?
Yeah, I was like, I will never forget rewinding the VHS tape 5,000 times just to look at it. And so, like, you had me at I Know What You Did Last summer.
Yeah.
It
And
is
Yellow
one
Jackets,
of
but
the best.
oh,
It is like truly, and it's funny because my film agent also was like, it's like a little Pretty Little Liars too, which I had never seen. So I
yeah.
did watch Pretty Little Liars. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna watch like the pilot. I'd never seen it, and I got so obsessed with that show.
I was that way with
Like,
the books.
oh,
Yeah.
I was just like, why have I not been watching this forever? I was like calling them my best friends. I was like,
It's
they're
like
my
you can't
best
look away.
I love
friends.
it.
That show was such chaos, and I lived for it for like 3 months when I was like
Yeah.
last year. And but yeah, it's really fun. And then I'm also working on a book two that I because The Lovers was 2 book deal, and so I've got a book two coming out with Berkeley in 2025. So
Ooh,
that I already
Oh, this is
wrote.
exciting.
so
That one's written.
exciting.
You're like, I'm done with that one. We're
I'm
good.
done with that one.
Very
Okay,
exciting.
so we have a couple questions that we always like to ask. One of which is we have a segment called Fictional Boyfriend of the Week, or it doesn't have to be a boyfriend, that's just what we call it. Karen's had a fictional granny, we've had fictional found families. Do you have a fictional
You.
character that is like, that's my boo thing, that's my best friend?
That's
Oh
my
my gosh.
person.
This is where every book,
Oh,
movie, TV show you've ever consumed just
Not,
is.
I
yeah.
will say, so I recently got, I do these things where I'll get like obsessed with a show just because, and it's like something I'm watching at night. So obviously, Pretty Little Liars are all my best friends. But since we've already discussed them, I'll talk about this show that's so crazy, but it's very silly. It's on Paramount. It's on, or like CBS. I guess I don't have television. I just have Paramount. I just have streaming. So
Yeah.
it's on there. It's called Ghosts. I don't know if you've ever heard
Oh,
of it.
I've heard of it. I have never
It's
watched it. It looks
it's so silly.
hilarious.
It is fully like, and I'm like, they're all my ghost friends. So like the Pretty Little Liars are my best friends. They're my ghost friends. So it's about this woman who inherits a like manor estate from a distant relative she never really had contact with, and she and her husband go up there to like see what it's like. And they live in New York, and he doesn't want to move there, and so he's like trying to convince her to like fix it up and sell it. And it's inhabited by like just tons of ghosts, like all the ghosts that you could imagine from all the times that this
I've
this
seen some of this.
yeah.
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 And the day, like, I think it's in the pilot, she falls down the stairs and she gets, like, hits her head. And when she wakes up, she can see the ghosts. And it's just crazy.
I
And
love it.
but it's so silly and they're so cute. And it's like makes me cry sometimes because it's just like about kind of, she's helping them sort of like find their way in their afterlife, just like kind of wrapping stuff up, and they're falling in love in their afterlife. It's just like kind of weirdly soothing to me, like to think about your
Oh,
afterlife not being like over, like your
Yeah.
life isn't
yeah.
over. It's just like on a different
Phase.
plane.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
cute. I love that. I'll
So
need
those are
to
my ghost
bump it
friends.
up my list.
It
Yeah.
was so like I literally was like, I'm not watching this show. This is ridiculous. And then my husband was like, he like watched it while I was like on a writing retreat, and he was like, I think you'll like it. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it. And then I got so hooked.
I love it.
Only because it's just so
It's so
pure.
silly. Yeah, we love it. Okay, so the other question that we always ask is we know we love yearbooks and we're going to recommend it to everybody, but what are you reading and recommending right now?
Okay, so I've read a lot for blurbing this year, which has been really fun and new for me. So I think some of them are out, some of them aren't out yet. So I mean, Love and Other Conspiracies. I don't know if you guys know Mallory. She's wonderful. I love that book. So cute. And then what else did I love? This Will Be Fun as always. I'm gonna always, because I love them.
Yes.
And it's got a queer love story in it as well. And I'm finishing up for book club Vampires of El Norte.
Ooh.
I'm like not
Ah,
sure if
I don't know.
it doesn't have like an X in the
Yeah,
name, so
but I'm
I'm not
never
sure.
sure.
I'm never sure. So I apologize if I did not pronounce that correctly, which is really cool. I'm not done with it, but I love it. And then I'm also going to read for blurbing. So Anywhere You Go by Bridget Morrissey. So
Oh,
I've been
oh,
reading
yeah.
that
that's
and I love it.
exciting.
So
Uh,
I mean, there's so many good
I
books
feel
out
like
right now.
2025 is
It's
going
going to
to
be a
be
good
so
year.
stacked. Like,
It is going to be stacked.
it's gonna be
And
so good. I'm so
yeah.
excited. Before we let you go, would you mind doing like a fun little tarot pull
Yeah.
for our listeners?
I'm gonna use this deck, which was a gift recently, and I really like it. So I'm gonna use this deck for you guys. It's
Ooh, that's so
called
Ooh, it's
the
pretty.
beautiful.
Tarot of the Divine.
Ooh.
So is it true that you shouldn't buy your own tarot deck, that it should like be gifted or find you, or is that
So they say that for your first tarot deck.
okay?
And I mean, you'll hear all kinds of stuff. I was very superstitious because I was raised in Christianity. And so I was like really scared to get my first deck to buy it myself. So I wanted a deck. My friend and my friend Liz Parker, once again showing up on it. She's like my best friend. She knew I wanted a deck. So she got me one for Christmas. And she was like, I know you're scared. Here's
Here
a
you
deck.
go.
But I don't think that's true because I mean I've bought so many decks too.
Yeah. My
So
niece wanted one, and that I wouldn't let her buy it because I'm with you. I was raised Christian and I was superstitious, and I didn't want her to buy her
yeah,
first deck. So maybe I'll get her one.
yeah, you should. I mean, I have a few decks that I really love, and the energy of the deck really matters, I think. So I have some decks that I don't like.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and especially oracle decks, which are a whole different thing because they don't necessarily have the follow the reader, the reader weight like this does. But those I've had some very hit or miss oracle decks as well. It's like I don't like those.
Ah.
All right.
All right, you guys. So we're gonna do for the incoherent fangirls and their listeners for the rest of 2024. Is that what we want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna cut the deck and then I'm gonna have you guys pick which side you want me to draw from.
My
Right or
my
left?
mind went left.
Me too.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. I'm like getting chills.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna pull 3 cards. Goodness. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Whew. All right. So this is going to be the past. So this is energy around you guys. The death card, which means transformation. So don't get scared. Please do not be scared.
Well, it's in the past at least.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
like, I mean, it's past energy. It could be recent past. It could be distant past. But what the death card represents is it's the card associated with Scorpio, which is, related to Pluto. So it is that sort of like big moments of transformation where you have to kind of leave something behind in order to go into what you really is really meant for you. So for this card, when I pulled it out, I just really got a feeling that like there was a certain version of this journey that you guys have been on that maybe you've had to kind of like let go of this last year, and how that relates to your listeners, how that relates to what you want to do moving forward. Usually when you see the death card, it's going to be representing a transformation that's positive, and that if you leave something behind, you're going to be given it's going to lead you into what's really meant for you. So that's sort of what I'm feeling from it, is that
My first instinct was in August. I switched my work schedule, like my day job schedule,
Yeah.
and now we have I have Thursdays off now, which is a huge change
Opened
for
up our
me, but it
schedule.
opens up our
oh my
schedule for the
gosh,
Yeah.
podcast too, and it's made it so much
Mhm.
easier for Mandy out on the East Coast to like record and not be up late into
till
the night.
midnight or
Yeah.
Yeah,
something.
right.
Till
And
Yeah.
I'm
midnight.
like, that
I
was
would
just
be
my like
recording and like dying.
yeah, and I'm just like, oh, I left sleep in the past so that we could expand.
This is so interesting, especially considering the next card that I pulled is the Fool, which is the first card of the major arcana, it's the beginning of the journey. And it's sort of, and that's this present energy right now. So it sort of indicates that there's a new something coming and that you are jumping into something. Honestly, with the Fool, it's very much like you're just going to go for it, and you're going to see, trust that there will be steps that need to be there and everything's going to be there. And the Fool is like very creative. It's very like, I'm just taking an adventure. I'm out on, on this journey, and you're going to trust that there's going to be what you need on the
Okay,
journey
so
for you.
we're both Year of the Snake in the
Yeah.
Chinese zodiac,
Oh
and
my
next
gosh.
year is Year of the Snake. And so we've been like
Whoa.
manifesting that like next year is our year.
Then
Next
things are
year's
gonna
your
happen.
year.
Next year's our year. Big things are gonna happen.
And so the
Um,
start of something
is
now leading
wild.
into
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too because the last card I pulled is the Three of Wands. So wands are the creative suit. They're related to fire, so fire signs. And the threes are all about celebration. So threes in every single suit of the deck, there's a different three, and the Three of Wands is celebrating something creative. So usually dealing with like bringing people together and sort of like there's some kind of celebration. It's a three, so it's not like a massive thing, but it can be whatever it is that you're working on, depending on the level that you're at. Like it can, regardless, it's a celebration, and usually with a three it's very positive. So
Rebecca, Mandy is currently editing her debut fantasy.
oh my gosh.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be the way that I
this
have
has been
chills right now.
validating. I
The
know,
way that I
like
have
the whole
chills right now.
thing.
I love that. Oh my gosh. So
Oh,
yeah, so you could especially in relation to your podcast and your Patreon and the people that are in this community with you, like celebrating success with you guys and like with what you're creatively putting your energy into, that makes so much. I could see it. I could see it. We're just gonna
Ah!
ah!
Well, you'll have to see it because Karin has bad news for you.
I do. I do have a little bit of bad news for
oh
you.
no, oh no.
You've now been on the podcast twice, and
Yeah.
now that you have been on the podcast several times, and even before that, honestly, you are actually legally obligated to come back for all future book releases.
So you're gonna have to be here
Yeah,
on the
and-
journey with us.
Yeah, and to
I'll
see
be
everything.
on the journey next year, 2025.
Oh my
Yes.
god!
I can't. I will always come back. You guys are so much fun to talk to, and
It's-
just incredible.
It's
Ditto,
so
my
much
face
fun.
hurt.
I truly like I need to like exercise my cheeks more. They're like they're
You're
struggling.
like, I'm tired.
They're like, I'm tired.
Smiling.
Stop it. Oh my gosh, this has been so much fun. I still
I'm
have
so
chills.
excited for you guys.
Thank you so much for this.
So much. This has been
Yeah.
a blast. Everybody, when this episode comes out, the lovers will be out in the world. Like, go. Can we talk about this cover for like
The pretty baby.
a
Obsessed.
commotion? Like.
This spine, I just want to cry. Like
It just, I
Yeah.
truly, like, I opened my package and I was like tearing up, like looking at it. I'm like, it's here.
So
It's
gorgeous.
here. I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for this.
right. It does feel like it's been so long, and then all of a sudden it's here, and I'm
And
like,
it's
oh my
here.
god, how did we get here?
Where did this happen? But yeah, when this episode comes out, it is officially out in the world. Everybody go pick up a copy. Walk into your favorite bookstore, pick up a
Don't
copy.
use it as a door jam.
No.
Or
Don't
put
use it
cups on
That's,
it.
that's bad energy. We don't want.
Yeah.
You need the good
Don't
energy.
do that.
It's so pretty. Don't put cups on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And- yeah.
I mean, you can. It's yours, but
But you probably should.
Put it on your read it and put it on your bookshelf, put it on display.
Yeah.
Don't mistreat it.
She's
It's-
too
it's
pretty.
art.
She's too pretty.
she's a pretty girl.
She is very pretty. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for everything.
you.
This has
Yes,
been
you guys are the best.
such a blast.
amazing.
We
Yeah,
can't
I'm so
wait for
excited.
everything that comes next. And
Me too.
have an amazing, I know you're doing your launch with Bridget, so have an amazing launch.
Fun. Thank
Yay.
you. I'm so excited
We'll talk
about
to
it.
you soon.
We'll talk soon.
Yes. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
So fun.
Oh, I love
I love her.
She's
I
always
love
so
her
much fun.
So much fun. And like truly
And
it
this
just
tarot
it feels
pull.
like, oh my god. Like seriously, I still have goosebumps. Still have chills. Like that was
Yeah.
everything I needed.
For
You guys
sure.
heard it. You guys heard it. Next year, we're celebrating big.
Next year's our year.
We're celebrating big. Next year is Year of the Snake. We are both snakes. We are going to kill it. 2025, baby.
I'm really scared of next year though, because Taylor Swift is also Year of the Snake
She-
and Reputation and all of
It's true.
that.
Only good things. Only good things.
Mm.
My cheeks hurt.
Right too.
Okay. Now we have
Now,
an announcement. This is so
announcement.
exciting. Okay, y'all, next week
We
we
have
will
a
be talking to a
friend.
very good friend of ours. We have known him forever, it feels
I'm
like.
also mildly obsessed with his wife.
Oh, I'm so obsessed with his wife and their whole love story and their
Yes.
whole relationship. Like, just
Yes.
couple goals. Like, truly,
Yes.
just
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
So next week we are talking to Finley Ray, who is author of Angels and Exorcist. We're so
Whoop, whoop.
excited. We can't wait. This is, I think like his official debut. He has put out
Mhm.
a little novella in the same
Novelette.
universe, but this
Mhm.
is the first book in the series, so it's going to be so much fun. We can't wait to introduce you to him. We're so
I
excited.
can't wait.
So that's next week. I'm so excited.
Yes.
And now it is time for a spiel.
Let's do a spiel.
Let's do it. Friends, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you are listening to us. You can also follow us on social media. We are at The Incoherent Fangirl on all the things. Visit our website where you can also stream all of our episodes as well as read our blog. It's theincoherentfangirl.com. Please enjoy. There's lots of good goodies over there. And if you're interested in early access to podcast episodes, full video episodes, as well as bonus content, head over to theincoherentfangirl.com/Patreon to subscribe to our
I
Patreon.
saw some pretty good bonus content today.
I posted one and there's more to come.
Oh,
So yeah, good time. I'm still laughing thinking about
I
it.
know. I know.
So
I
good.
cackled.
It's so good. And then speaking of good stuff, we have some merch. Head to the incoherentfangirl.com/shop to pick up some really cute merch designed by Miss Mandy over here. It's adorable.
Thank you.
And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, design ideas, you want to tell us that we're pretty, we will accept all of
We'll
that.
take it.
In our inbox, theincoherentfangirl@gmail.com. You know we love hearing from y'all. And of course, one last way to support the podcast is to rate and review on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Please give us your
We
words.
love
You
words.
know how much we love words. Give it to us.
They feed us.
They do.
They sustain us.
It's true. It's truly so true. She is at Mandy Perv on all the things.
She's at Ms. Made in China on all the things.
And once you have followed us on social media and you've followed the podcast on social media, you can also head over and visit our internet besties, do some self-care. You know that's important. We believe in this
Yes.
stuff. First off,
Especially we're getting into seasonal depression season.
oh
It's
yes.
coming rapidly.
This
Okay.
is, yeah, this is the
Prepare.
season that you really, really need to take care of yourself. So please
Yes.
do. First stop, you can head over to herecomestenerd.com, add some stuff to your cart. It's super freaking cute. And you're going to use code FANGIRL to get 20% off your first order.
Then once you've got all your pins and artsy goodies, you're going to head over to onceuponabookclub.com. You're going to get a subscription. You're going to get a already ready to go box or any bookish goodies. You can use either code Karin10 or Mandy10 to get 10% off. They do not stack. We love you no matter which one you use. So you're not going to offend us by choosing because you have to choose one. You just have to make sure you spell Karin right, or you're going to get no percent off and we'll post ugly words about you on our blog.
It's true. It's true. We will.
Because we'll have a way to know about it.
Yeah, 100% we will. And then next up, speaking of words, we love the words of our friend Amber D. Lewis. So you're going to head over to amberdlewis.com. Maybe add 5 or 10 of everything into your cart. Use code FANGIRL10. You'll get 10% off of that. And you've saved tons of money. That's exactly
weird.
how that coupon code works.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And last but not least, you're going to go support the show husband. We're going into spooky season, and he's created with his partners a streaming platform for all of your paranormal, true crime, and horror content. We are adding a lot of new content here shortly. I've had some ideas for stuff I hope that we're going to film that are going to be great. A lot of originals are coming, and then a lot of non-original content that we are acquiring. So if you go to streambeacontv.com and download the app. If you'll use code Fangirl10, you'll get 10% off. Then you're going to go follow Stream Beacon TV everywhere. You're going to go follow Searchers Believe everywhere and the Paranormal Mind everywhere. Paranormal Mind podcast is kind of on a hiatus right now as we get Beacon off the ground, but you can still go give them a follow. Listen to their catalog of episodes.
It's perfect for spooky season.
It's perfect for spooky season, yeah. And then you're also going to head to searchersbelieve.com/shop. And if you use code fangirl there, you'll get 10% off there as well.
She meant fangirl 10.
What did I say?
Just fangirl.
Oh, fangirl 10. I don't have a brain.
It's been a week. It has been a
It's
week.
been a week.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
Fangirl
believe
10.
yes. That's the incoherent fangirl.
That's the incoherent fangirl. Thank you for listening.
We love
We
you.
love you.
Bye.
Bye.
We are sponsored by our friends at Here Comes the Nerd. Pins, stickers, magnets, and more. Here Comes the Nerd has happy art for all fandom-loving hearts. New customers can use coupon code FANGIRL during checkout for 20% off their first order at HereComesTheNerd.com. Coupon applies to ready-to-ship items only.